Welcome to Eugene Cannabis TV. You made this episode, and we got Jeremy beside me. You got Dank on this side of the and we want to talk about some announcements real quick. You notice I'm wearing the Oregon Cannabis Connection shirt, and Oregon Cannabis Connection is the only, I believe, Oregon newspaper that's dedicated especially to cannabis and cannabis issues. They're out of Medford, and they're, like I said, they're sponsor of our Hempfest for the third time. So anyway, great. You can pick them up in most of the service centers, medical marijuana service centers and resource centers. Are you finding most of them you finding Cannabis Connections in most of those facilities when you go in them or not?
The dispensaries?
Yeah.
Not necessarily, but
okay.
I haven't really looked for them. For sure, the greener side and Emerald Medicinal has them.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so yeah, the Emerald Medicinal and on 6th, and the greener side, which is on 1535 Oak. Anyway,
something like that.
So anyway, that's where you can get the Oregon Cannabis Connection. So, and also I wanted to talk about Hemp History Week is coming up. This is June 2nd to the 8th, I believe it is. It's a yearly event. I think they've been doing that for about 5 years. Last year there was an event, a one-day event from a group that doesn't associate with the Hempfest, and they were sponsored by the Hemp History Week as well as VoteHemp.com and also 2 hemp vendors here in town. So anyway, so I thought, well, why don't we do? I looked on the website, and there's no event for this year for Hemp History Week in Eugene, so I applied to do an event. So I said, well, let's do a one-day event, but on the Freedom Plaza. We can do it from 11 till 2. The reason for those hours is that we have to be out by 2 because of the drummers are there, and they've been real good about letting us do events and not interfering, and but they want their space back, so they're comfortable at 2 o'clock. So that works out well. So anyway, I give us 3 hours to have a little celebration, and that's what we're going to call it, is Celebrate Hemp. We're not going to call it Hemp History Week because they're not letting us play in their party. I sent them, I just wanted to read their answer, and I applied for an event. The proposal was for a one-day event, like I mentioned. She wrote back, "Thank you for your interest in Hemp History Week and spreading cannabis awareness. Since we are a single-issue campaign focused only on non-medicinal industrial hemp, we do not think we're a good fit for your event. We hope you understand. Thanks, and have a wonderful night." All we're doing is just going to sponsor this one-day thing about hemp, you know. So I wrote back and I said, "What a peculiar answer. Let me get this straight. You're a hemp support organization, but you don't want to associate with an established hemp fest. Last year, you sponsored a one-day Hemp History Week event held in a small, dusty parking lot in Eugene, Oregon. It was organized by a disgruntled former Hemp Fest volunteer by the name of Michael P. Moore, and now calls himself Papa Hemp. He has caused us many problems over the years. You'll deal with an individual like that, but not an event with 11-year history devoted to the education of the whole cannabis issue, including hemp. At least you answered me. In the past, I didn't even get a response, which I haven't. So anyway, Celebrate Hemp, that's on June 7th. That's Saturday from 11 to 2, and we at the Wayne Morris Free Speech Plaza, 8th and Oak, and we could use some help with that, organizing. Get a hold of us, dankbagman@hotmail.com, and if you like to work on that. Jeremy's got a story that we didn't have a chance for last week, and so Jerry's going to cover that one now.
Virginia Representative Griffith introduces Federal Legitimate Use of Marijuana Act. Virginia Representative Morgan Griffith, who is a Republican, this week introduced the bill in Congress that would remove the federal obstacle to prescribing and possessing medical marijuana in states where that is legal, such as Virginia. He said that he knows this will be a long, hard fight, but you've got to start somewhere. Griffith's bill is titled the Legitimate Use of Medical Marijuana Act and is only 4 pages long. It moves marijuana from Schedule 1 to Schedule 2. Removing marijuana from Schedule 1 takes it out of the no currently accepted medical use category and allows research to be conducted more easily, and would allow doctors to prescribe it in states where medical marijuana is legal to possess.
That's fantastic, and that's a Republican.
Yeah, that's a Republican. That's the surprising part.
Yeah, so congratulations to Representative Griffin, and we hope we can give you lots of success back on the right coast. They're on the right coast, we're the left coast, you know. So this is an interesting article. Actually, it's a blog that it was on the cannawannabuy.com website, written by Cabrina Krebel Chang, titled, "Can You Get Fired for Smoking Medical Marijuana?" Acceptance of medical marijuana and the patients who medicate with marijuana is sweeping state legislatures across the country. Of the 21 states that have passed laws addressing medical marijuana, 9 have done so in the past 3 years. A growing number of Americans appear willing to allow those with chronic illness or pain to alleviate their symptoms with the plant. Quite apart from the issue of recreational use, which Colorado and Washington State recently approved. But even as recreational usage is gaining acceptance, people who medicate with marijuana across most states can still get fired for failing their employer's drug test. Both Washington and Colorado have legalized recreational marijuana use, but it's still unclear whether employees' jobs are protected in those states if they smoked off-duty, either for recreational or medical use. In Colorado, for instance, the marijuana law allows employers to impose any drug policies they see fit. There are a lot of unanswered questions, and it's time for U.S. lawmakers to clarify how companies could treat these cases, regardless of state's law. Using marijuana remains a violation of federal law. This conflict has important consequences in the workplace. Employees are left with no protection, and employers are left with no guidance. Moreover, in a 2013 ruling, the Colorado Appellate Court said that because marijuana is still illegal under federal law, employees could be fired for using it off-duty. The case has gone to the Colorado Supreme Court. If it rules in favor of the employee, it would provide protection to thousands of medical marijuana users in Colorado and potentially influence other states to follow. If the court decides in favor of the employer, the status of registered users in Colorado remains unchanged. They have very little protection from losing their job. Take the case of former Walmart employee Joseph Cassis, who medicated with marijuana off-duty in accordance with Michigan's Medical Marijuana Act to alleviate the symptoms of his sinus cancer and brain tumor. In 2009, after a workplace injury, he failed a company drug test. Walmart fired him. The Michigan court upheld his firing because the state's medical marijuana law did not regulate private employment. It merely provided a defense against criminal prosecution. Similar incidents have occurred in California, Washington, and Oregon. Courts there have ruled in favor of employers who fired people for testing positive for marijuana, though they were medicating with it off-duty and in accordance with state laws. And by the way, insert right there, and speaking of Oregon, I spoke to one of the attorneys, that's one of our activist colleagues, Lee Berger out of Portland, and about this fact about how could you be forced to take a drug test if you're using marijuana legally in the state of Oregon as a medical marijuana patient. And he told me that the only thing that the Oregon medical marijuana law does is keep you out of jail for using it, period. That's all it does. It doesn't save you from your landlord. It doesn't save you from your employer. It doesn't do anything except keep you out of jail for using marijuana for a medical purpose. So Anyway, I just clarify, that was the word we got back from an attorney. The article goes on, a few states have anticipated this conflict, but only 2 provide real protection for employees like Cassis. Arizona and Delaware specifically prohibit employers from terminating registered marijuana users if they test positive for marijuana, provided it is not being used at the workplace. That's excellent. In fact, I need to keep note of that, to remember that those are the 2 states that actually handle that issue correctly. 3 states provide limited protection for a person's status as a registered user or registered primary caregiver, but they offer no protection if that registered user tests positive for marijuana. For example, Rhode Island employers and schools and landlords cannot refuse to employ someone just because he or she is a registered user or a registered primary caregiver. In Maine and Connecticut, patients cannot be discriminated against at work simply because they are registered users. But where does that leave everyone like Brittany Thomas in Maine? Thomas, 24, suffers from severe back pain that was taking prescription narcotics to control it. After consulting with her doctor, she switched to marijuana because it controlled her pain without the I always had trouble with that, debilitating side effects of prescription painkillers. When her employers told her she would have to complete the drug test, she informed them that she would not pass because she was a registered medical marijuana user. She failed the test and was terminated. Her lawyer identified the problem medical marijuana users face. No patient should be forced to choose between the pain relief she needs to live a normal life and the employment she needs to support her family. The irony is painfully obvious. Many medical marijuana users like Thomas would likely keep their jobs if they only had used a much more powerful prescription drugs. Is this the result voters anticipated when they voted to support medical marijuana? A lawyer who represented a woman in a case similar to Thomas's thinks that it would flabbergast the average voter to think, I've been given this right but can get fired for it anyway. It's an irony that undermines the market that would supply sufferers with an alternative to traditional medications. How can this market get off the ground if consumers could lose their jobs for using the product? Medical marijuana isn't going away, its acceptance is only gaining momentum. However, its support is only meaningful if users don't lose their jobs. So that's a great blog article on the issue about using medical marijuana and drug testing. So of course, at least I believe that drug testing is grossly overused. And I could say the only people that support that gain from drug tests are the people that own the drug test companies. And so anyway, so we're going to speeding along towards our break. So we're going to take a break, be back for the second half. So be right back.
President Obama, stop the drug wars, the drama, arrested me for a G of Jane, comma Mary.
Take that money for the jail cells, keep it from the cartels. Don't help a drug dealer millionaire, tax weed and give a brother health care.
It's cannabis, miracle medicine that gives me bliss. Used to making rope and giving somebody hope, that sounds familiar. Be the candidate we thought you were.
Norm to the L.org.
National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws.
Norm to the L.org.
Go to the website and help out the cause.
Welcome back to Eugene Cannabis TV. You made the second half, and we're still looking for that third half, but we're on the second half right now. And so Jeremy was going to start off with the story this time, this segment.
Friday's Finest with Steve Biederman, the cannabis legalization battle. It seems to me each day I follow the news there is a battle being played out with respect to cannabis. There are news accounts of the benefits of legalization, taxes, jobs, medical benefits, tolerance, and so many more. In contrast, the news underlines the risks and dare to say the absurdity of legalization. edibles that drive people to run into traffic, jump from a staircase, shoot people, and who knows what else. In our world, all the one rarely finds an issue without extreme examples of crisis or greatness. It's truly cannabis is not different, it's just one more thing. My hope is that we all just relax a bit. Doesn't matter what side of the issue we're on. After all, cannabis is here in our conscious, in the hands of our friends and co-workers, our children's, ourselves. I'm 61, and as long as I've lived here, it's been here. So then, what's the real issue? It will happen whether legal or not, under the table or on it. Prohibition of alcohol didn't work. Should we expect anything different from the prohibition of cannabis? Come on now, let's agree that there are risks and there are benefits. The granular use of the plant has not changed, nor will it. Simply, if it's legal, it'll be more manageable, it'll be tested, and you'll know that it has more benefits. It's from taxes, is parks, education, and subsidies from illness, stroke reduction, and a myriad of the still untold stories. Personally, I'm glad that our society today has the courage to confront the reality, and whether you're on one side or the other side of the issue, at least we're talking. Let's just not freak out.
Excellent. Thank you, Jeremy. Yeah, that's a great article there. This is some more announcements here real quick. I want to jump in and talk about the growers2patients.net website. It hasn't been used that much, and so we try to get the word out and let people to use this. It's a free service. This is patients helping growers. Trying to get growers and patients together is what I'm trying to say. So this is a free service, and I'm looking for 2 patients right now. So I'm on that forum. That's growers with the number 2, numeral 2, and then the word patients.net. That's growers2patients.net. So check it out and use it. That's how we make it work, is to use it. And then I wanted to talk about the next volunteer meeting for the Hempfest. It's coming up this Saturday, May 17th. That's at 2 o'clock. We'll be at the park, at Maurie Jacobs Park, on the concrete slab. Bring a chair or 2 if you can, and come on down and meet some other volunteers and check out the site of the event. So anyway, that's at 2 o'clock. And I also wanted to talk about a new poll that came in. This was got this off of OregonLive.com. This is written by Jeff Mapes, titled "Gay Marriage: Marijuana Legalization Measures Show Strong Support in a New Oregon Poll." The proposed ballot measures that would legalize marijuana and permit same-sex marriage in Oregon each show strong support levels among the state's voters, according to a new poll conducted for Oregon Public Broadcasting. The April 30th to May 2nd telephone poll of 400 Oregon voters found that 58% favored amending the Constitution to allow gays and lesbians to marry. 54% said they backed legalizing adult possession of marijuana. So now that's 54%, and that's in Oregon. So we've heard slightly higher percentage in other places, but this is registered voters. So we'll take that, 54%. It says in April, there was a poll that found 64% of Oregon voters agreed that marijuana should be taxed, regulated, and legalized for adults. That wording could have led to more favorable responses than the OPB poll, which simply asked if marijuana should be legalized. 2 different groups are circulating initiatives to legalize marijuana that have different provisions, including how much an individual would be allowed to possess. And of course, we know that's 21 and 22 and 53. People are gathering signatures for those now. We haven't been at Saturday Market like we planned on, but this Saturday we should be. Anyway, we'll see how it works out. But anyway, I see, marijuana legalization was 54%. Opposed was 38% and 9% don't know. So it's over 50%. That's the main thing, and of course, the higher the better. So
This Saturday we'll be at the Hempfest meeting, so we might not make it to Saturday.
well, yeah, the Hempfest meeting's at 2, but I think if we get somebody to cover the booth, we could leave the booth up. Is what I'd rather hope to do, and hope so. We'll see, but. Take a look. Keep an eye out for the booth. It'll be between the flagpoles, right? The base of the flagpoles there on the Free Speech Plaza, if we're there. And we try to be there because we want to be there up till the end of the campaign as people are gathering signatures for the legalization initiatives. So I've got 2 articles here that are the same subject, and I thought it was interesting because one of them was titled Driving Stoned. Studies suggest no significant change in driving performance. This is written by Paul Armentano of Normal, and this is on. This is on the leafonline.com website. Subjects exhibit virtually identical psychomotor skills on a battery of driving simulator tests prior to and shortly after smoking marijuana, according to clinical trial data published in the March issue of the Journal of Psychoactive Drugs. Investigators from Harvard Hospital in Connecticut and University of Iowa Carver College of Medicine addressed the simulated driving performance of 85 subjects in a double-blind, placebo-controlled trial. Volunteers responded to various simulated events associated with automotive crash risk, such as avoiding a driver who was entering an intersection illegally, deciding to stop or go through changing traffic lights, responding to the presence of emergency vehicles, avoid colliding with a dog who entered into traffic, and maintaining safe driving during a secondary in-the-car auditory distraction. Subject performed the test sober, and then again 30 minutes later after smoking a single marijuana cigarette containing either 2.9% THC or 0 THC, placebo. Investigators reported that volunteers performed virtually the same after smoking cannabis as they did sober. No differences were found during the baseline driving segment and the collision avoidance scenarios, authors concluded. Investigators noted that participants received active marijuana decreased their speed more so than those receiving placebo cigarettes during the distracted section of the drive. Authors hypothesized that subjects' reduction in speed on this task suggests that they have been compensating for perceived impairment. And that's something that we've been saying for a long time, that driving impaired is, it's nothing like alcohol. You can actually function under it. There was a study out of, I think it was England, that proved that too, that your driving ability is not degraded. In fact, some studies have actually shown that it's improved. What we are concerned about on the legalization initiative is that they set the level at 5 nanograms, and there was concern that that was too low because nobody really knows what the intoxication rate it would be to where you'd be impaired to drive, and they was afraid that with the 5 nanograms would be so low that any medical marijuana patient would be legal. It could be legal at any time. If they were to be checked, and so they're going to have to be working on laws, and they also have to be working on trying to figure out what the proper level is and how to handle this. I know as an ex-truck driver, there was pot smoking going on. I never saw anybody have a problem with control. Methamphetamines is the problems that I saw, that and alcohol. And those remain the main problems, and they are controlled through truck driving. But yet you can drink like a fish, but if you take drugs, then you got to worry about the drug test. And of course, marijuana stays in your system the longest. So the most benign drug is the one that you're most likely going to get in trouble for using because of the time element. Have you ever taken a drug test?
Yeah.
Have you? No, we are. Yeah, I haven't yet. No, I always said I wouldn't take a drug test unless it benefits my health or for my health. But yeah, I had a coffee, an espresso, an employee one time that told me the experience that he had. He was afraid to fail the test, and so he had a friend of his urinate in a balloon. They didn't use pot. And he was in the booth, in the stall, and he had the sample jar, and he had a pin and a needle, and so he poked holes in the rubber, in the balloon to get it, the contents into the jar. But the balloon was making, but the pin was making 2 small holes, and so he started poking it, and it ended up breaking, blowing out actually, and part of it went on, part of it went in the jar, part of it went in the toilet. It was kind of a mess. So then he put the balloon in his pocket. So then he went back in with his sample, and he said the lady must have known something was up, but she never said anything. He said he sat down to fill out some paperwork, and he felt something kind of funny, and he looked down, and that balloon was draining in his pants pocket. And but anyway, he got out and passed it, so he was relieved. But anyway, it was it's kind of comical. But anyway, like I say, drug tests, the only people to win from drug tests are the people that own the company. So it's been our pleasure. You got Jeremy on my right and Dank on my left, and it's been our pleasure to be here, and we'll be here next week. So hope you're here too, and come on by. We'll give you some more news stories and info on what's going on locally in the cannabis scene and the cannabis fight. Come on back.
I mean, herbs are good for everything.